Ironically, Candace Parker is in a little bit of a hot seat right now. Yeah, she probably shouldn't go to Chicago. Candace Parker just broke the unspoken rule of the WNBA, and now the mob is coming for her. If you've been paying attention, you already know this is the current state of women's basketball. The fastest growing star the league has ever seen, Caitlin Clark, is powering historic ratings, selling out arenas, breaking records, and still getting torn down for it. And here's the crazy part. It's not just her. Anyone who dares support her, without showering equal praise on every other player, is immediately a target. That's not hyperbole. It's happening right now to one of the most decorated legends the league has ever produced, Candace Parker. At this point, there's no denying Caitlin Clark is the engine driving the WNBA's growth. 4th in MVP voting, single, season assists record holder, Time Athlete of the Year in her rookie season. You don't put up a resume like that without being generational. But here's the problem. The second you say that out loud without adding, and by the way, everyone else is just as important, you get labeled part of the problem. The mob pounces. And that's exactly what's happening to Candace. She's been steady in her praise of Caitlin for months, but this week she went further. Not just defending Clark from one of the dumbest talking points floating around, but flipping the spotlight right back on the players pushing it. That's when you could feel the shift. Candace wasn't just defending a player anymore. She was taking a public stand against an entire narrative. And in this league, that's a line you're not supposed to cross. So, what did she say? And why is it hitting a nerve with the old guard? We're about to break it down. But first, if you're enjoying watching Candace go toe-to-toe with the WNBA mob, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. I just think that when you bring opinions to the table, you gotta have something to back it up. So you can't just say stuff. Sadly, Candace, you're finding out the hard way. That's just not how the WNBA works right now. Because when it comes to Caitlin Clark's impact, both on the floor and in the league's bank account, the playbook for a lot of people has been the same. Either hide it or downplay it until it sounds like no big deal. And you don't have to take my word for it. Just look at what ESPN did with the All-Star Game numbers. It's fine to just say, just post the ratings. That is fine. That is absolutely fine. But it is another situation than pretending like Caitlin Clark doesn't exist. They didn't compare this year's game to last year's. You know, the one Caitlin Clark actually played in. Nope. They skipped right over it and went all the way back to 2023. Why? Because if they had compared to last year, they'd have been forced to admit the truth. Ratings were down 36% without Caitlin Clark on the court. And I don't care who you are. There is no legitimate reason to erase the most recent year, unless you're trying to bury the Caitlin Clark effect and spin a story that the league is thriving without her. But here's the thing. This isn't new. This is the old guard mob's greatest hit. Even though Caitlin is literally making everyone in the W richer, they've set this weird condition. You can't just celebrate her success on its own. You have to also tack on praise for everyone else. And if you don't, you're accused of tearing the league down. And that double standard goes into overdrive when the conversation turns to Angel Ree. And this is where Candace really stepped into the fire. For reasons the league has never been able to explain with numbers, the WNBA seems obsessed with elevating Angel Reese to Caitlin Clark's level in terms of popularity. And listen, credit where it's due. Angel has done a phenomenal job building her brand. Outside of Caitlin, you're not going to find a player with more name recognition right now. But here's the reality check nobody's allowed to say without the mob showing up. Angel Ree is not on Caitlin Clark's level when it comes to talent or economic impact. And the second you point that out, boom, instant outrage. You can bring the receipts, you can cite the stats, you can literally point to the fact that Angel's own team moved to a 20,000-seat arena only for games against Caitlin Clark, but still can't sell out Winrest Arena, which is half the size, and it won't matter because if you honestly evaluate Angel Ree against Caitlin Clark, you'd think you just committed a hate crime. That's how quick the pylon comes. Meanwhile, it's open season on Caitlin Clark. No one blinks when she's the target. And with Caitlin missing most of this season and looking less than 100% in the games she has played, the usual suspects have been circling like vultures, taking the opportunity to tear her down and diminish her impact all over again. Case in point, after the Fever won the Commissioner Cup without Caitlin, then followed it up by beating the Aces, ESPN analyst Carolyn Peck didn't just praise the team. She flat out floated the idea that the Fever might be better off without Caitlin Clark. Look, I think that Indiana is even more dangerous when Caitlin Clark doesn't play because she's a ball-dominant guard. The ball's in her hands a lot. So you know what you need to try to take away. But when you look at Indiana now, they've got so many weapons. And trust me, that was just the start of this narrative spiral, because then after the Fever went on a 5-game winning streak, instead of celebrating the run, the better without Caitlin talk came right back. We have to deal with the possibility that the Indiana Fever right now in this moment are better without Caitlin Clark. And that sounds crazy, and people are said, how can you say that? I'm saying it because we're seeing it. And now it's gone from subtle digs to outright dismissal. People are actually saying Caitlin Clark just isn't that good. He be trying to push this CC narrative. Oh, she good, but she not that good. Here's the thing they don't want you to hear. The Fever are 8-5 with Caitlin Clark in the lineup. Without her, 9-9. That's not just a stat, that's a mic drop. Every time this better without. Her narrative pops up, reality slaps it right back down. But this is the state of the WNBA right now. If there's a way to discount Caitlin's impact, somebody will take it. Doesn't matter if the evidence proves them wrong immediately. And that's what makes what happens next so important. Because into this mess steps Candace Parker, a WNBA legend who's not just defending Caitlin Clark, but flat out challenging the mob's favorite narratives. And in doing so, she's becoming a bit of a martyr in the process. Candace has been complimentary of Caitlin before, sure, but this is where she started getting heat for it. On ESPN's First Take, when she was asked about the resentment around the league over Caitlin getting all the attention, she didn't dance around it. She didn't give the safe answer. What she said was blunt, logical, and exactly what the haters didn't want to hear. And it set off the next round of outrage. You know, it's so crazy to me because I'm asked so many times if I'm resentful in any type of way for where the WNBA is right now. My job was to leave the game better than I came into it. You think Cheryl Miller is resentful for me that I had a league to play in? No. She's being the mentor that she is, and she's supporting and loving and sitting courtside cheering on Juju Watkins. And I'm doing the same for Caitlin Clark and all the women in the WNBA. Candace didn't tiptoe. She didn't sugarcoat. She looked right into the camera and basically told the WNBA, stop being jealous, stop being insecure, and start focusing on the amazing fact that Caitlin Clark is about to make everyone rich. It was the kind of common sense that's obvious to fans and completely radioactive to the mob. And she didn't stop there. When Jamal Hill took her little pot shot about Caitlin's turnovers, Candace swatted it right back. Freakish floor vision. I know she had that 10 turnover game. But that's something that's like a learning. I think all of us young turn the ball over. And especially when you're the focal point of the entire defense, you're going to have more turnovers, you're going to have more live ball situations. And the competitive element of you do tend to take chances early on. And you learn that sometimes it might be a highlight, but 7 out of 10 times it's probably going to be a turnover. And I had to learn that because I was, some of the biggest things with Pat was like offensive rebounding and me turning the ball over. So those were the two things. I get it. No apology, no softening her stance. She defended Caitlin again, point blank. But here's where Candace stepped into real trouble, at least in the eyes of the old guard. Because when the conversation shifted to comparing Caitlin, Clark and Angel Reese, Candace made the WNBA's ultimate cardinal sin. She was more complimentary of Caitlin. This is where it gets tricky. Kane Clark is at an A level. I think in time she's going to raise up to that S, but in order to put her at that level, she's got to have a couple more years. So, you got Angel Reese. I put her right at that C level. I think in terms of being above, you have to be able to have the ability to carry a team, be a 1 or 2 option. I think Angel Reese is fantastic at her role, which is offensive rebounding. He showed and demonstrated so much growth in that first year. Angel Reese Katir. That was it. The match in the gasoline. Angel's fans lost their minds. X was littered with posts accusing Candace of being out of touch, demanding she take notes from Lisa Leslie and Asia Wilson, who always make sure to heap praise on Angel. And instead of debating the point, the mob made it personal. It got so bad, the backlash so loud that Cheryl Swoops herself jumped in. Yeah, she probably shouldn't go to Chicago. You probably shouldn't send her back to Chicago. But go ahead, Jordan. Objectivity out the window. In this climate, If you compliment Caitlin Clark and don't immediately declare Angel Ree an A-tier player, you're blacklisted, period. But Candace didn't flinch. She didn't apologize. She doubled down. That being said, the facts that I want to bring to this table, and I challenge anybody to tell me, what player are you taking Angel Ree over of those that I just listed? Guess we'll wait for their response. Oh, we're not going to... Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry, but what I'm saying is in what player, and this is no disrespect, these are the greatest players in the game right now. They asked me to rank the tier right now, and I sit in a studio at Turner with Shaq and Chuck, and some of which I think at times they do individually and personally attack people's character. And I think I pride myself on trying to be an analyst that does not do that. I do not attack character. I literally am just, from my point of view, from my opinion, this was the ranking. And so I ask again, are you taking Angel above Paige? Are you taking Angel above Enrique? Are you taking Angel above Sabrina or Kelsey or Caitlin or Asia or Enfiso or Brianna? No. That does not make her a bad player. That does not make me a hater. Do I think she could be up there? Yes. And then she went all in torching the players for putting on one of the worst All-Star Game performances in memory. Y'all cannot come out there with those shirts of pay us what you owe us and then do that in the All-Star Game. I just think that it would have really maximized the moment of wearing the shirt along with giving the product, because I tried to watch the All-Star Game. I'll be honest, but after one slow Euro step and people pulling up for I was like, I can't, I'm a fan of the WBA and I can't watch this. So I just think that no, you all didn't have to, but I think it was an opportunity that you could have built on more momentum, if that makes sense. And she's right. That All-Star Game right after wearing shirts demanding to be paid what? Their ode was embarrassing. The pace was slow, the energy was flat, and if we're being real, those ratings ESPN tried to bury would have been even worse if Caitlin hadn't been on the sidelines keeping viewers interested. This year, she played assistant coach and bench cheerleader throughout the game. And I'm here to tell you, if she hadn't been actively participating in her street clothes role as the bench coach and cheerleader, I'll swear those ratings would have been down another 10%. From her interviews, it's clear Candace knows all of this. She's not speaking off the cuff. She understands Caitlin's impact better than most of the league. And I honestly think that's why she's willing to step into the fire. She's countering the anti-Caitlin narrative because she knows the truth. The WNBA needs leaders who will celebrate Clark objectively, not bend to a mob that would apparently rather sink back into irrelevance without her than win with her. And just when you thought she might ease up, Candace came right back with another hit, going straight at one of the mob's favorite talking points, the ridiculous claim that the Fever are somehow better without Caitlin Clark. They're not better without Caitlin. But I do feel like times like this, different people step up, just like Natasha Howard stepped up during the Commissioner Cup. It shows. There's no hate for the Fever here. Candace is simply pointing out the obvious. Yes, the team has improved in Caitlin's absence, but that doesn't mean they won't be much better when she's back. Aaliyah Boston, the star of the franchise alongside Caitlin, is sitting right there, nodding in agreement. No one in that locker room is offended. Then Candace lays it out even more clearly. It honestly is scary because not only are you allowing other people to step up, but you're allowing Caitlin to then survey and realize how she can add. It's common sense. But in this league, common sense still needs to be said out loud. Here's why. This better with Caitlin talking point scares the old guard, the ones who hate to see Caitlin succeed. Because if the Fever are already in the top, half of the standings without her, then when she's back, they're contenders. And when they're playing exciting winning basketball, the kind that turns every game into an event, the fans will show up by the millions. We've already seen the proof. When Caitlin returned against the Liberty, she delivered one of the most electric performances ever, and millions tuned in to watch. It's going to happen again. The viewers will return, the ratings will spike, and Caitlin Clark's impact will be undeniable all over again, whether the haters like it or not. And this is where Candace Parker deserves real credit. While so much of the WNBA is stuck in short-term pettiness, protecting egos, and playing to the mob, she's thinking long-term and taking all the heat that comes with it. Ironically, a lot of it is coming from the same people who will tell new fans to respect the legends. Candace is that legend, and she's showing what leadership actually looks like. Checking her ego at the door, standing up for the truth, and cutting through the narratives that are splitting the league in two. So, you can't just say stuff. In this day and age, we have a lot of people that are just saying stuff. And with that being said, I don't want to be a part of that. Because here's the reality. Without Caitlin Clark and without voices like Candace Parker willing to defend them, the WNBA risks squandering the biggest growth opportunity it's ever had. If you're still here, drop a trophy in the comments so I know you made it to the end, and so Candace gets the flowers she deserves. Thanks for watching.